Hello everyone, Vladimir Kramnik again with you, and today I will present you quite some statistics because I like to base what I say, to base my opinions and in general in a certain dispute. Opinions which has no factual base has very little value. That's the way it's supposed to be in a normal world. That's why I'm always trying to give arguments and strong and valid arguments. So I'm going to present you a lot of numbers today. I will make it in a very easy to understand way for everyone who is at least a little bit in the matter. And there are some numbers, some stats which to me doesn't make sense, so maybe you will help me after watching it, commenting on it. You will help me making some sense out of it, because I sometimes I cannot really. There will be very interesting statistics here, so it's not going to be boring. This video. First, because of the just finished the last World Blitz Championship in New York, and I'm presenting you here the statistics of the performances, amount of points, and quality of play. So all this together. Because all matters, in this case, because sometimes you can be just lucky and actually not playing great, but somebody is blundering or losing on time in a winning position against you, and you can have a very good performance but actually not showing good play. That happens in a short sequence of games. Of course, when it gets to 100, 200 games, that is very unlikely to be that you're always lucky or always unlucky. But in such event, 13 rounds was there in the World Championship, and I will then try to connect it, to compare it with Title Tuesday. We will come to it a bit later. So these things can happen. Also, it can happen that actually you were playing quite well by the level. Your level of play was very decent, but your performance was not. I don't know, different reasons can be. Your opponents played well. You just made one blunder in a winning position or again lost on time, and it affected your performance, amount of points you had. So that can happen. That's why I'm presenting you everything, all of this, but usually most of the time it corresponds your level of play to your performance, and you will see it also clearly that is how it works. So most of the time it's coherent, sometimes not, in both cases. So first I'm presenting you here top-rated Elo players statistics. A lot of numbers, but I'll try to make it simple. You can study this later, make a stop the video and make a screenshot if you like and study those numbers. I will quickly explain you what is it. So those are 9 top rated FIDE Blitz rating list, 1st of December 2024, so before the event. 9 top rated players, as you can see. You know them all, so established players who showed many times already OTB that they are really on the level, on the very, very top level. Why 9? Because it's not cherry picking, just because I want to compare those players with 9, because there was just 9 of so-called onliners. That's how I call the players who actually play extremely well online, very successful in online tournaments, but not showing that much OTB, or simply not playing much OTB. So because those players, all 9 players, they equally have a lot of successes, both OTB and online. So it's somehow there is a strange coincidence that usually all very strong OTB players. They're also very strong online. A bit more, a bit less, but still they're proving their level in both categories, so to say. Not always the same happens with onliners for some reason, so it seems like it works in one direction only, strangely enough. But anyway, so that is why 9 players, and we see 9 best in the world before the event, and actually they prove mostly that they're in top 10 for some reason, because actually, if you know, I guess already, that first there was a big like sharing first 10 with 9.5 out of 13, so the system was at 8 places qualified for the quarterfinals. I'm not taking the later stage, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, because it's a totally different nature. It's a match system. There you don't need to win too many games. You actually have to win just one more than your opponent. So you play differently. Also, your position is very different by level. So it's a different story. Yeah. Since I'm trying to compare with mainly with Title Tuesday events, that would be the only adequate way to compare, is to take the World Championship, 13 rounds. So especially since quite often last couple of rounds, at least the top players, they were just making draws because they wanted to qualify. So basically very similar amount of games as in each particular Title Tuesday. And so this is the statistics here. By the way, it's a bit of a myth that especially if we are talking not about the first like top 10 places in the World Championship, especially if we are talking about players who are a bit lower, finished lower, it's a bit of a myth that the World Championship opponents are much higher rated, much higher level than Title Tuesday. Actually, in Title Tuesday, if you are playing well and if you are fighting for prizes, you have a very strong opposition. I mean, okay, maybe only first couple of rounds the players are weaker, but that also happens in World Championship. But then you might have actually even stronger tournament playing Title Tuesday than playing World Championship. So, and another thing is that your level of play actually not so much depend on your rating of your opponent. I will come back to it later. So it's perfectly comparable, those two events, I would say, in most of the cases. So let's go. So let's see here. So first of all, 7 out of 9 players shared first place. So actually it's very, very clearly that they belong where they are. Only 2 players had not a great tournament. Nakamura, 8.5 out of 13. Okay, still not too bad, but of course, for most of players it would be a great result, not for him. And especially MVL, Massim Vachier-Lagrave, he really had a bad tournament, very low performance, very few points. It happened, 7.5 out of 13. For him, of course, it's a very bad performance, because he used to be a few years ago world champion in Blitz and very, very strong still Blitz player. But again, it happened. 1 out of 9, is having a bad tournament. But still, by the way, still now let's talk about the level of play, caps. First of all, I would like to, again, for I don't know, 50th time already, refute this idea that caps means nothing and you cannot consider it when you are measuring the level of play. No, this is absolutely not correct, because it's clearly, I also checked, by the way, all these numbers with Centipones, Lichess Centipones. By the way, Lichess never pretended that it was not correct, and they are using it for anti-cheating as well. Of course, not as only parameter, but as a kind of serious, one of the very few serious parameters, and it's extremely coherent, the results. I mean, basically the system is a bit different, but it shows that actually I mean, the both systems are perfectly working well. Most of players are exactly in the same place with a very small deviation. For instance, according to Caps, the best performance, first, second place out of this 9 is Caruana and Jan Nepomniachtchi, 92.2 average, very, very high for Blitz, very, very strong. And in Lichess system with Antipones, actually Nepomniachtchi is clear first, and Caruana is sharing second with and third with Magnus Carlsen, who is here, who is clear third. So you see couple of adjustments like this, but mostly it's exactly the same if you count it with Antipones, which means that both systems are perfectly adequate, especially when you are checking a long, sequence of games, like 100 games of a player, then it's really adequate. So you can draw definitely certain conclusions. I mean, especially when the difference is big. When it's small, 0.1, 0.2, of course, hard to pretend one player played better than the other. But if the difference is like 3 points, 3 Caps points, well, it's very obvious who was a better player in a particular period of time. So here you see that the third is Magnus Carlsen, 92. I will explain you later what these small numbers in small means. Yeah, to start with performance, very high performance, most of them 28 plus. So most of them overperformed even, but not that much. Actually, it's very, very logical and coherent because, let's say, Carlsen, Firouzja, their ratings are very close to what they performed. It seems extremely high, but actually in Blitz ratings they are above 2850 both, so more or less this rating, and they proved it. Hikaru Nakamura performed very badly for him, even though still it's a very good level, 2692, but his rating is also 2850 plus, I think 2860, so he had a very bad tournament. But then Wesley So, you see Caruana, Caruana actually had second best, but it's so close that it doesn't matter, 83, 81, 76, so very equal performances, equal amount of points, everything is very logical. Caruana 28-81, so 28-33 Duda, 28-60 Jan Nepomniachtchi, so yeah, everything is clear. 27-97 Dubov, because he played a bit, he lost in the first round, and then he played a bit weaker opponents, but still 2800 is more or less his rating, so everything very, very normal. And MVL, yeah, he had a really bad tournament, only 2600 performance, of course very low for him. Can happen with everyone, yeah, from time to time. Again, Caps, you see first Nepomniachtchi Caruana, then Carlsen 92, also high, but for him it is normal kind of. In OTB play it's very typical. He is usually in World Championship, he is showing between 92 and 93 level. Of course, he's very unique player, nobody else can stably show such a level. And still other players actually the fourth was Dubov, 91.1, also very strong play. Fifth, he's not here, Hans Niemann, but he's not yet at least belonging to top 10 in Blitz, even though probably he by strength he is already. He showed 90.6, but I didn't include him just because, well, he's not fitting exactly the parameters I wanted to be very, very pedantical, exactly these parameters, but actually he performed 90.6. I want to mention that in fact there are still, I think, 2 more players who performed 92 plus. I think it was Murzin, who also showed very good play and shared first place. I think his performance was also 92.2, like Caruana and Nepomniachtchi. And actually Sindarov, he didn't perform that well. I think he made 8.5 points or even 8, but in fact his level of play was high. I think it was 92, very high level of play, which shows that sometimes you can actually play well, but simply, doesn't work your way, yeah. So then fifth is Niemann, as I mentioned already. Sixth is Wesley So, 90.3. and then very close. Actually, MVL, which again 89.9, he's number 7 here in this list. 89.9 is still a very good level. Maybe not for him. Usually he is around 91 in World Championships, but still it is a very high level. Even a class is a class. When you're a strong player, even if you're having a bad tournament performance wise and your play is not perfect, still you don't fall too low. Yeah, still this level is a very, I mean, it's 27 plus player level, 89.9. Then Firouzja Nakamura 89.7. Actually, Nakamura still showed a very decent level. But in fact, there are two players, quite special players. You will see it later in statistics. I'm going to show you whether in this part or the next one. That they're playing very risky chess, very sharp and risky chess, and they they complicate matters very often. They play sharp positions, and that's why in general online and OTB their accuracy is a bit lower usually than other players. That is hot, but still it is pretty high. Yeah, still it is high. So the level is the level. Yeah, it's one of the most stable things in chess, as you probably know already, is your level. You know very well how difficult is it to improve your level. So that's why once you achieve, if you know, so to say, how to play chess, you will not unlearn it very quickly, at least. So 89.7 still, of course, again, for them maybe nothing special, but a good level. And so you see, by the way, Fabiano showed a very high level for him, because he is also, not because he's a very strong player, of course, he belongs to top 10 in Blitz as well, but usually his accuracy was also lower because he belongs to this group, small group of players, I guess Firouzja, Nakamura, Caruana, in Blitz, who are playing very sharp, aggressive, very complicated game, and usually his level is lower, is more close to 90 than 92, but here maybe he played more solid or he was in good form, and yeah, he showed a very high level of play also. So yeah, everything is completely according to the standard here, no surprises. This number, this is a number I compared, okay, very briefly, generally, and I'm going to go deeper into it later in the second part of the video. I was comparing the performances and the accuracy of play of the same 9 players in Title Tuesday. I took last 5 events just to have a very general picture for the moment. And I saw, well, of each player, so 45 tournaments altogether, 5 latest of each. And so I check first of all, how often did they get into top 10, then how often did they get into top 5, and then their average level of play in those 5 events. So I will explain you why I did this little bit later. Wait a second. But for now, yeah, we can see Magnus had the best, well, not surprisingly, the best everything, the best performance. So he was 4 times out of 5 events in top 10. All of those events he was in top 5, in fact, 4 also. Average level 90.9, very high, still also for online chess. Well, at least for top established players. We will see that not some onliners, they are doing sometimes better than that, but still it's seriously, it is a very good level. Pretty much higher, you see 1 point and more higher than everyone else in average. Then you see Firouzja, Nakamura, so everybody actually only twice out of 5 times were in top 10, well, always in top 5 at the same time. But the level of play, okay, Firouzja is very low, because in title, you know, in general, why I believe that logically, and my experience shows that playing Title Tuesday, normally your level is a bit lower, definitely, than when you are playing a World Championship. First of all, because we are talking about level. Yeah, you should understand it's not the same as your result or performance. level of play you cannot improve because you're good with the mouse or making pre-moves. It doesn't improve your level of play. So level shouldn't be really higher, yeah, especially because you're playing 3+1 and the World Championship it's 3+2. It seems like almost the same, but if you think about it, well, actually it means that if a game lasts for, let's say, in average 40 moves, you have actually 40 extra seconds. Or 60 moves, you have 1 more minute on the clock. So of course you have much more time to think, especially in the middle game. So normally your level should be a bit higher. And also, I mean, Title Tuesday you have two a day, 2 a week, and World Championship only once a year, and the prize funds are quite different, yeah, of these events. So of course all players, let's say established and onliners as well, everybody is in equal condition. Of course they are trying to show their absolutely best. They prepare especially for this tournament. Also in openings they're showing all ideas they have. So taking all this into consideration, well, I would assume that it's very logical that in the OTB World Championship you would show a better play. Not necessarily better result, because your opponents are also playing better, yeah, but a better level of play. And yeah, that's why you can see here clear. Plus means the difference here between level of play in this World Championship in New York and last 5 events in last 5 Title Tuesdays online on chess.com, and you see everybody, only Duda is the one who showed higher level of play in those 5 Title Tuesdays. But even though mainly because actually he showed quite a low level of play for his standard in this World Championship. It can be, by the way, that well, it can be that he had a very complicated, more complicated position than the other players, or sometimes happens that couple of games were very long and then he played like 30 moves in not a so easy position with seconds on the clock, and that of course spoils a lot your general accuracy. So maybe it's not connected to the fact that he was playing any worse than other, but simply that he had the longer games or whatever. But still, yeah, he is only one who actually showed a bit 1.2, not that much, but still quite considerable drop in the level OTB than online. But everybody else, as I assume, should be, they showed higher and often considerably higher level of play. Let's say Magnus is 1.1 normal, better played than online, and but some, let's say Firouzja 3 points, Karuanov 4.1, Nepomniachtchi 4.4, really a lot. So 2.9 Dubov. Okay, it's everything is as expected. Yeah, here it's just I just in case I mentioned the Chess.com rating range of the players. So what is their general level, let's say within last couple of months on the chess.com, and yeah, you can see it. Of course everybody is very high rated, yeah, for reason, as you can see clearly here. So yeah, we see the picture is very clear, it's very logical, and you know, there is no doubt, yeah, top established players, somebody can have a bad tournament performance wise like MVL, or maybe level of plays like Duda, but still majority are playing better OTB than online, than in Title Tuesdays. And the average level, here we come to the average now. Average performance 2809, extremely high, because don't forget 9 players, yeah, 28. So yeah, they are really the best players, nothing you can say. I mean, maybe a couple of other guys can still compete, like Hans Niemann, definitely, by performance and by play, but yeah, it's clear they're there for a reason. 9.2 is average amount of points per player, so basically like all of them could have, I mean, in average, fighting for the first place, for the top places in the World Championship. Average level of play 90.8, very high. also very, very high for 9 players. 90.9 was best of Carlsen online, as you can see. So 90.8, yeah, serious. By the way, 2 points in average higher than same players in those 45 online events. So there is no doubt it's playing better OTB, as it should be, in my opinion. So then 18 times out of 45 they were in top 10. We are talking now already about last Title Tuesdays, last 5 of each. Not that often, I would say. 15 out of 18 or out of 45 they were in top 5. So most of the time when they were already in top 10 they would be in top 5, but still, yeah, you will see that it's not that often, at least according to the statistics we have from OTB, because actually this year was exactly the same as last year or 2022. It's always the same story. Established top players, usually out of top 10 there are 8 or 9 of top players, whom we all know. One, maximum two, rarely maximum 2 players who are below 2700 in Blitz, they get into top 10, but that is very stable statistics. And also by level of play it's always the same guys: Carlsen, Dubov, Nepomniachtchi, MVL, sometimes Duda. It's always the same guys who are on top by level of play as well. Yes, so and average is in Title Tuesday 88.8, not that high, but actually you will see it's not so easy to show very high level in Title Tuesday for the reasons also that I already mentioned. It's considerably less time, you are less definitely concentrated as when you play in World Championship, and maybe because there are some other reasons which we are going to talk in a second about. And now, after showing this, I'm going to present you the statistics of the top 9 onliners who played in these events, how they were chosen. Very, very straight, clear parameter by their rating. They were chosen by the rating on chess.com. So the highest rated chess.com players who whether don't play much, whether not really showing like absolutely top level OTB, but online they're, challenging the best players in the world constantly. So here is it. So this is again, yeah, and you will see very clearly that the performances are much lower in every sense. Yes, first Daniel Naroditsky. Yes, Naroditsky and Bortnik are 27 plus players on Blitz rating, but they play very rarely, at least against strong opposition, so I include them into onliners, as long as they will not play more OTB and we will see more of their level over the board. So performances, well, you see 27.62 actually is the best, so nobody reached 2800. Naroditsky performance 27.49. Yeah, he scored 9.5, but he had a much lower, much weaker opposition. In fact, I think his highest rated player was 2650 whom he played. Actually, you must be very lucky with the pairing to be able to share first and not to play with any of the top players at all. He now, actually, since, let's say, to give you an example, now my Blitz rating, OTB FIDE Blitz rating is 2670. So I'm not really top player now. Okay, I'm not that bad, but not definitely top 10 for sure. But Danya, he didn't even play a single player even of my level. So all players were actually a lower rated, lower level. That's why with scoring a lot of points, his performance is not that high. Basically, it's good, yeah, but not like incredible. Bortnik, the same story. Also, well, he played a bit higher level of opposition, so scoring 9 out of 13, also good result, of course. His performance is a bit higher, 27.62, but still it's more or less his rating, which he mainly got in Charlotte Blitz tournaments, as we know. So still, since both of them barely, I think Naroditsky didn't play a single 2700 player. Bortnik maybe 1 or 2. So yeah, would be good to see them playing more, to see how will they resist against really the best players, because you see the difference in level is quite serious. I mean, between top players and the rest of the field. Then Lazovic, also young player, is performing extremely well online. I mean, with you will see it now. He's 8.5. Decent result, I mean, but performance 2644. Okay, yeah, it's not 2800, let's put this way. Then Sarana, also very often in prizes in the top 10, also in Title Tuesdays online. Performed not so great, not so many points, 7.5 out of 13, 26-34, not too bad. And then other players, they're all actually above 3100. That was the criterium I was choosing. So the players who are stably 3100 Chess.com rating plus on the platform, very stably. And everybody else is already lower rated. Like, they are very strong players, onliners, but I've chosen only those who are very stable, like 3130, 3120, you know, 3150 even. Lazovic now is, I think, above 3200 even on chess.com. So yeah, that was the criterium. That's why I also took 9 best established, so to say, players to compare. Then Robson, Andrew Hong, yeah, for some reason they're very high rating. You see here is the range, they're all above 3100 now. Teodoro also, Bluebaum, and Pranav, young talented Indian player. So their performances here, well, I mean, some like Robson is really low, 24-44. He had a really bad tournament. But still, 25-17, 25-72, so huge difference in performance. Also 7 point out of 13, 6 even out of 13, 7.5, so nothing to compare. Huge gap in level as well. You see here nobody managed even 90. And even 89, I believe only one player, only Bluebaum managed 89.4. No, and not even 89, and there are some like 85.4. This is really not a great level. By the way, Naroditsky, yeah, actually he didn't play so well level wise. I mean, 85.4 is really pretty low level, but he was quite lucky, and also maybe his games were a bit more complicated than others, but actually he was very lucky. I remember, you can check his games, for example, against Durar Bali, he actually, well, in a totally lost queen endgame, actually time to resign. His opponent blundered mate in 1. Ivanchuk lost on time having a completely winning position just a couple of moves before. So yeah, that's actually the point, that sometimes you can have a very high performance. No, I mean, he played well, Naroditsky, but yeah, not really top level, and that is very clearly showing 85.4 that the level was not that high. He was pretty, well, considerably seriously lucky to get to 9.5. Normally should have less points. You can check his games. It will be very clear to you. He was pretty much lucky there. Bortnik, yeah, the same, 87.7, not extremely high level. I would say also usually not enough to score 9 out of 13. Also a bit lucky and so on. Well, somewhere a little bit of luck, and okay, with quite modest, I would say, level of play, he showed, well, very good performance. And everybody else, you can see, well, 88, 87, Andrew Hong given 85.4. Teodoro, by the way, only scoring 6 out of 13, but his level is more or less decent, 88.2. Anyways, you can see now, I compared it with their also last 5 Title Tuesdays they play, each of them, and the picture is totally different. So the level of play, which again, I repeat, cannot be explained by mouse skills or whatever else, it's a quality of your moves, is mostly much lower OTB than online. I don't know why. I mean, we can only guess why this picture, because when best players, they're already playing pretty well, good level online, but much better even OTB, and with onliners is totally different story. Naroditsky even 4.4 difference. I mean, very huge really difference, because here are the accuracy level in Title Tuesdays, and this, as you see already, finally average is 88.8, so exactly the same like, let's check, yeah, 88.8 like all these 9 top players. So once it gets online, in a comfortable chair at home, they are starting to play in the same level as top players, while OTB, their level, performance and level of play is very, very different. I will show you the picture later. Only Sarana, actually, yeah, he showed even, I mean, in general, he also plays sharp again. Yeah, he's this type of player, so playing sharp, that's why his general accuracy is lower than a player of his level, and he's the one who showed actually better play OTB than online, and Teodoro as well. Yeah, also online his level is not so high, but by the way, still he is quite often in prizes, but the level is not that high. But OTB he showed better play. Everybody else, so another 7 players, is playing a bit better or much better for some reason online than OTB. And here is the average. So finally, average performance. Yeah, now we compare. I will show you the list where I compare it. So average performance 26-23. Here it is 28.09, almost 200 elo points difference. So like day and night, nothing to compare objectively. I mean, we knew it that they are really strong, but here you see very clearly that even though they have very equal average rating, more or less equal on chess.com, but here it seems the difference is huge when they start to play over the board in a serious event, World Championship. So average amount of points 7.7 against 9.2, so 1.5 point in average they scored less, even though they had weaker opponents, definitely, these players. So they still scored in average 1.5 point less than the top players. Average caps 87.2 against, as you see, 90.8, so huge difference. Yeah, it's what, it's 3.6 difference. 3.6 actually corresponds to, very generally I would say, 3.6 caps difference would be around between 100 and 150 elo points, FIDE elo points difference, so a very considerable difference. Yeah, I mean, here it's pretty clear, and I was not choosing. Yeah, I chose before I started to check. I decided, okay, 9 best chess.com players by rating and 9 best FIDE players by rating. Yeah, so that was the experiment, and well, it's quite a telling result of this experiment. It's very clear that the difference is considerable, but now we move online, and suddenly online it completely disappears. Actually, they perform at least equal to top players, in fact even better, because when you see how often they were in top 10 and in top 5, Lazovic actually is the best performance. All 5 last events he played, he was in top 5, 3 of them in top 3. Average level of his plays suddenly jumps very considerably, 2.6 jump, very serious jump, 90.8, so almost he's playing on the level of Magnus Carlsen when he's playing online. And other players also, Bluebaum 90.5, also, I mean, yeah, you remember that the established player nobody crossed 90 in those 5 events, but Bluebaum is 90.5, and 4 times out of 5 in top 10, 3 in top 5. Angry Hong showing actually 85.4 only level, and 7 out of 13, 26-11 performance, not very high in the World Championship. Actually in Title Tuesdays he is just I mean, is doing really great. 4 times out of 5 in top 10 in the last 5 consecutive events. So 3 times in top 5. And why top 5? Because it's prizes. Yeah, there are 5 prizes. So I decided to make top 10, top 5. And 89.4, very, very serious average level of play. Well, 4 points higher than he showed 4 cups, so again around 100-150 elo points difference of level of a player between over the board play. And finally, finally the average is here 26-23. As I mentioned already, everything is much lower than top players. Here actually they're performing better. In last 5 each events they have better performance. Same level of play as top players, 88.8. In top 5, in those 45 tournaments, these 9 best players in the world have been 15 times in top 5. Onliners, so to say, 16, one more. And in top 10, the difference is even higher. The onliners 22 times out of 45 they were in top 10 in these events, and only 18 out of 45 the best players. So a very strange picture. Why, for some reason, there seems to be a very big gap playing over the board, and then this gap disappears, so Elmas disappears. It is a little bit of a short, small sample, but now we come, and I will explain you in the second part actually what is happening, why there are some very strange things, strange numbers, and why situation becomes totally different when it gets to Title Tuesday online blitz play than over the board, where it seems very clear the picture from this year Blitz World Championship, last year Blitz World Championship, 2022, 2021, always the same picture. Online it's much more random, and for some reason some players are starting to show better and much better performances than all top established players. That will be in the second part.